we are continuing with my stories. And yes, okay, with Batman villains, now, since we're done with the Catwoman and Man-Bat story, the only big villains will be Penguin, since I wanted the first couple Batman stories to be about, well, the mob side of things and not the crazy side of things, but I wanted to add in Catwoman and Man-Bat. Anyways, now with Batman Gotham's Night number 7 and more.
Batman Gotham's Night number 7, Balance of the Books. The numbers never lied. That's what the actuary believed. Gotham's criminals talked about him in whispers, not because he was violent, but because he decided who deserved violence. Every robbery, every shipment, every life loss was reduced to columns and percentages, profit margins, acceptable losses. And at the top of the ledger sat one name written in pristine ink, Oswald Cobblepot. Batman stood in the shadows of a midtown high-rise, watching light spill from a single office window 3 floors from the top. No sign, no guards, no noise, just a man at a desk, crunching Gotham's blood into tidy equations. That was the actuary. The window shattered inward. Batman hit the floor, rolling as automated turrets deployed from the ceiling, spitting rubber rounds and gas pellets. He moved fast, flipping desks, ripping a turret free and hurling it through a wall before it could recalibrate. The actuary didn't run. He adjusted his glasses. Statistically, the man said calmly, tapping a tablet as Batman approached, you should not be here. Penguin's enemies rarely last past week 3. Batman seized him by the collar and lifted him off the floor. Your projections are outdated. The actuary smiled. Everything is a risk, even you. Explosions rocked the building as preset charges detonated in adjacent offices. Insurance fraud stacked on insurance fraud. Smoke filled the room. The actuary slipped free, ducking into a hidden stairwell, voice echoing back. Penguin will write you off eventually, Batman. Everyone becomes an expense. The chase tore down fire escapes and through abandoned floors, Batman gaining ground with every leap. The actuary tried to bargain, offering routes, names, percentages of survival. Batman caught him on the roof. Wind howled. Papers flew from the man's briefcase, ledgers detailing Cobblepot's empire, bribes, hit lists, laundering schemes, lives reduced to red ink. Batman dropped him hard. This city isn't a spreadsheet, Batman growled. He zip-tied the actuary to a ventilation unit and left the ledgers neatly stacked beside him, weighted down with a batarang. Below, police sirens rose. From the shadows of another rooftop, Oswald Cobblepot watched through binoculars, beak-like nose twitching. The actuary had been invaluable, but expenses had to be adjusted. Batman vanished into the night, Penguin's books finally bleeding, and the war tightening its grip on Gotham. Green Arrow number 3. The Arrow and the Canary. Oliver Queen had always been good at pretending things were fine. Sitting across from Dinah Lance in a quiet Star City cafe, though, the act felt thinner than usual. The noise of the city faded around them as sunlight caught her hair just right, and for a moment, Oliver forgot how to be clever. So, Dinah said, stirring her coffee, eyebrow raised, are you still saving the world, or did you finally retire and let someone else pick up the mess? Oliver smirked. Funny, I was about to ask if you still enjoy vanishing without warning. Her smile softened. Some habits die hard. There was history there. Unfinished sentences, old arguments, laughs that came too easily. Whatever had broken them before hadn't quite stayed broken. When they stood to leave, Dinah's hand lingered on his arm just a second longer than necessary. Maybe we don't mess it up this time, she said. Oliver watched her walk away, heart doing something inconvenient. Yeah, he murmured, maybe. That night, Green Arrow hunted Vertigo. The drug had flooded the streets again, stronger batches, faster distribution. Oliver tracked a deal to an abandoned subway terminal, the kind of place Star City forgot until it collapsed. He dropped in hard, Arrows flying, dealers scattering in panic. Then the air shook. A piercing sonic blast tore through the tunnel, sending men flying, concrete cracking as sound itself became a weapon. Oliver rolled to his feet just in time to see her. Black leather, blonde hair, masked eyes burning with purpose. Black Canary. Well, Oliver said, notching an arrow, either you're on my side or I'm about to complain loudly. She didn't look at him. Then keep up. They moved together instinctively, Green Arrow disabling weapons, Black Canary dropping enemies with controlled sonic screams that rattled steel beams. Vertigo vials shattered. Dealers went down fast. When it was over, the tunnel echoed with silence and sirens in the distance. They stood facing each other, breathing hard. You're new, Oliver said. Not anymore, she replied. You're Green Arrow. He tilted his head. Guilty. She reached up and removed her mask. Dinah Lance. Oliver froze. You've got to be kidding me, she laughed. You shoot arrows at criminals. Don't act like you get to judge. Oliver pulled back his hood, shaking his head in disbelief. All this time? You disappear at night? Dinah said. I scream criminals into walls. Guess we're both terrible at honesty. They stared at each other for a long moment, then smiled. Real smiles, the kind that felt like coming home. Looks like we're partners, Oliver said. Dinah cracked her knuckles, canary cry humming just beneath the surface. Looks like it. High above Star City, two vigilantes stood side by side, the hunt for Vertigo far from over, but no longer alone.
Yeah, no.
Green Arrow number 4, The Beast Hunts. The city never sleeps. Not for heroes, not for monsters. Oliver Queen crouched atop a high rise, hood pulled low, eyes scanning the streets. Beside him, Dinah Lance, Black Canary, checked her sonic amplifiers, ready for whatever threat moved tonight. Where is he? Oliver muttered, loading an arrow tipped with tracking gel. KG Beast doesn't just stroll through Star City. Dinah shook her head. He's smart, trained to disappear, but he leaves traces. People talk. They always do. And tonight, people had been talking. A string of assassinations, precise and brutal, had swept through the underworld. Russian mob contacts, arms dealers, people who knew too much about Vertigo shipments. The trail led to one name, KG Beast. They found him in the ruins of an abandoned shipping yard, moving like a predator in the dark, muscles coiled, cybernetic enhancements glinting under the moonlight. Oliver whispered, "That's him. Stay sharp." KG Beast's head turned toward the noise, eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. He roared, a sound that was more machine than man, and launched toward them with terrifying speed. Green Arrow fired first. A net arrow wrapped around one of the assassin's legs, slowing him. Black Canary's sonic scream cracked through the air, rattling KG Beast's systems and knocking him off balance. The battle was brutal. Steel fists met reinforced gauntlets, arrows deflected by cybernetic armor. Sonic blasts disrupted circuits, giving Oliver openings. "You can't stop me," KG Beast growled, grappling with Green Arrow, throwing him against a stack of containers. "Yes, we can," Dinah shouted, delivering a perfect canary cry that sent the beast reeling into a steel beam. Oliver followed, pinning the assassin to the ground with a precise arrow shot that immobilized his limbs. Breathing heavily, KG Beast's eyes flickered with frustration. "You don't understand. I'm just following orders." Oliver pressed his arrow closer. Orders from who? The assassin's hand twitched, and a small device clattered to the ground. Oliver grabbed it, examining the data inside. His jaw tightened as he read the name flashing across the screen. Count Vertigo. Dinah's eyes widened. "Vertigo's been pulling strings this whole time," Oliver nodded. "All these attacks, the drug, the assassins, he's been behind it. Every thread we've been chasing leads back to him." KG Beast tried to move again, but Oliver and Dinah worked in perfect sync. Another sonic blast, another arrow shot, and finally, the cybernetic assassin lay restrained, neutralized. The city breathed easier for now, but Oliver and Dinah knew better. This wasn't over. Count Vertigo's reach was far, and the hunt for the man behind the chaos had just begun. High above the shipping yard, Green Arrow looked at Black Canary. "We're gonna need a plan," Dinah smirked. "I was hoping you'd say that." And with the city lights flickering below them, the hunt for Vertigo moved to a deadly new phase. Green Arrow number 5, Vertigo's Fall. The city trembled. Star City had been poisoned, an invisible threat moving through the streets like a shadow with a purpose. The drug vertigo had spread from underground labs to high-end parties, infecting everyone who crossed its path. Its creator, Count Vertigo, had been pulling strings for months, funding assassins, corrupting officials, and destabilizing the city. Oliver Queen perched on the roof of the Vertigo chemical plant, Emerald hood low, bow ready. Beside him, Dinah Lance, Black Canary, tightened her gloves, her canary cry humming faintly in resonance with the city's hum. "Are you ready?" Oliver asked. Dinah smiled, eyes glinting. "Always." The plant below was fortified, guards patrolling in synchronized patterns, automated turrets scanning the perimeter, security cameras tracking shadows. But Count Vertigo had underestimated two things: Green Arrow's precision and Black Canary's speed. They moved silently, arrows and kicks dismantling the defenses as they went. An EMP arrow shut down the turrets. Dinah's sonic scream shattered cameras and disoriented guards. Inside, Count Vertigo waited, surrounded by vials and devices, the room spinning faintly with greenish light. His presence was magnetic and unnerving, his fingers tapping the console like a conductor orchestrating chaos. "You shouldn't have come here," Vertigo said smoothly, voice echoing off the metallic walls. "We didn't come here to talk," Oliver said, releasing a volley of arrows that knocked the nearest guards off their feet. Vertigo smirked and activated a series of chemical dispensers. Green light filled the room, swirling into a haze. The air buzzed, disorienting Oliver and Dinah. He was no ordinary foe. Vertigo could manipulate balance, perception, and fear itself. Dinah held her ground. "Focus, Ollie. Aim for the control panel." Arrows flew with calculated precision. Dinah's voice cut through the hallucinatory haze like a blade. Sonic bursts destabilized Vertigo's balance, allowing Oliver to reach the consoles and dismantle the chemical release system. Vertigo stumbled, enraged, swinging at them, but his powers were no match for teamwork honed over months of training and battle. Oliver's arrows pinned him in place, while Dinah delivered a powerful, concussive blast directly at his chest. He crashed into the wall, unconscious, vials shattering around him. The two heroes tied him securely and called the authorities. Vertigo's empire, the drug labs, distribution channels, and corrupted contacts, would crumble without him to coordinate the chaos. Oliver wiped sweat from his brow and looked at Dinah. "It's over." "Until the next one," she replied with a grin, and for a brief moment, the city felt safe. Above Star City, perched atop the chemical plant, Green Arrow and Black Canary shared a silent nod, the night calm for the first time in months. Together, they had struck down the man who had threatened to twist the city into madness. Count Vertigo's reign was over, but the hunt, the vigilance, and the fight for Star City, that would never end.
Oh, and to explain my version of Vertigo, he is, but also isn't like the Arrowverse version, to where he's a drug dealer that made a drug called Vertigo, but he does have his powers like in the comics, but he doesn't really use them at first because, well, they make him sick.
Batman Gotham's Night number 8, Shadows over the Iceberg. The Batcave was quiet. It wasn't the kind of quiet that meant peace. It was the kind that pressed against the chest, heavy and expectant. Batman stood over the glowing map of Gotham, cowl pulled low, cape brushing the floor. The city's arteries were laid bare before him. Dockyards, warehouses, known mob operations, and the slow, relentless expansion of Penguin's empire. A soft click of the Bat computer alerted him to movement, a shipment, unaccounted for men, and a name he'd heard whispered in Cobblepot circles, Jocko Boy Vanzetti. Not just muscle, not just a thug. The kind of man who enjoyed the chaos he created, the kind Batman hated most. The Iceberg Lounge was his hunting ground tonight. Rain-slicked streets reflected neon lights as Batman slipped through shadows, silent and patient. Inside, Cobblepot's men moved like clockwork, gun racks checked, cash counted, doors locked. And there in the corner office, barking orders over a phone, was Jocko Boy himself. Batman waited, calculating. Guards rotated, no alarms yet, no suspicion. When the moment came, it was like a storm breaking. A shadow fell across the room. Guards turned, but Batman was faster. Grapple lines snagged weapons, arrows disarmed men before they could even fire. Jocko Boy lunged at him with brute strength, swinging a chain he'd been using as intimidation. Batman countered, using his momentum to send the thug crashing into a desk. "Your reach exceeds your skill," Batman growled, knocking another man unconscious with a precise kick. Jocko Boy roared, swinging wildly. Batman ducked, grabbed his arm, twisted, and slammed him into the floor. The man struggled, trying to get free, but Batman's grip was iron. "You work for Cobblepot," Batman said quietly, voice low, controlled. "Your empire isn't untouchable." Vanzetti spat blood, fury in his eyes. "He'll kill you for this." "You make the mistake of working for him," Batman replied, pinning him against a wall. "That's your choice. I just enforce consequences." By the time the GCPD arrived, summoned anonymously through a burner phone, Jocko Boy was unconscious, restrained, and the Iceberg Lounge had been emptied of its hidden threats. Batman disappeared into the rain before any of Cobblepot's men could retaliate. On the roof above, cape wrapped tight, he looked down at the harbor lights flickering across Gotham. Cobblepot was losing pieces of his empire, one thug at a time, and Batman would make sure the Penguin knew it. The city never slept. Neither did the Bat. Batman Gotham's Night Number 9, The Terrible Trio. The training never stopped. Bruce Wayne knelt in a dimly lit chamber, the faint smell of burning candles and old parchment mixing with the musky scent of leather and sweat. Across from him, Giovanni Zatara, master of mystic arts, moved with fluid grace, his hands tracing sigils and gestures that made the air itself seem alive. "Power," Zatara said softly, "is not in brute force alone. It is in control, in perception, in the ability to see what others cannot. You must learn to see Gotham, not just move through it." Bruce's muscles ached as he executed a complex series of defensive maneuvers, footwork weaving with the motion of his arms. The old magician clapped once, sharply, and the shadows shifted as if acknowledging approval. "Again," Zatara said, "but this time feel the flow of the room. Every movement is a message, every gesture a weakness to exploit or protect." Hours turned to days. Bruce's body and mind were being honed, sharpened. By the time he left Zatara's chambers, he was no longer merely a man preparing to fight crime. He was a weapon tempered by discipline, intuition, and understanding beyond the physical. Years later, in the quiet corner of a Gotham cafe, Bruce Wayne sat across from Harvey Dent. Older, hardened, but still carrying the spark of idealism that had once made him Gotham's best hope. "Bruce," Harvey said, stirring his coffee absently, "you keep yourself so isolated. Sometimes I worry you're fighting alone too much." Bruce shrugged, expression unreadable. "Gotham has too many shadows. Some things, some people, can only be dealt with in ways the system can't." Harvey leaned forward, voice low. "Just remember that even the shadows need allies. You don't have to shoulder this alone." Bruce nodded, letting the words sink in. Even in the years he had walked as Batman, he still carried the lessons of trust carefully, like fragile glass. Back in the Batcave, the cave hummed with activity. Screens lit the walls with surveillance feeds, maps, and recent reports. Batman's eyes narrowed on a particular set of data, the Terrible Trio. 3 figures, all wearing masks. A fox-masked figure, slender, agile, moving with unnerving speed. A shark-masked giant, muscular and brutal, smashing through obstacles. A vulture-masked girl, sharp-eyed, always hovering, always observing. They had been hitting Gotham banks across the city with precision, leaving little trace except chaos and fear. No one knew their real identities, but Batman's experience, his instincts honed over years of fighting crime, told him one thing. These weren't hardened criminals. They were teenagers, smart, coordinated, reckless, dangerous in their inexperience. "Juveniles," Batman murmured, studying patterns on the screen, "but well-trained and motivated. Someone is guiding them, or they've learned too much on their own." The latest hit had just occurred, a downtown bank. Cameras caught the trio in the act. Fox darting between tellers, Shark smashing vault doors, Vulture keeping watch. They were chaotic, dangerous, and confident. Batman suited up, cape flowing, utility belt secured. He moved through the city like a shadow among shadows. Within minutes, he was at the bank. Inside, chaos reigned. Civilians ducked under overturned desks. Cash floated through the air. But Batman moved with precision, cutting through the trio's offense. The fox-masked teen attempted acrobatics to escape, but Batman's grapnel line caught them mid-leap, pulling them down. The shark-masked giant swung at Batman, claws extended. Batman countered with an expertly timed strike, leveraging momentum to hurl the brute into reinforced pillars without causing fatal injury. The vulture-masked girl tried to swoop down from the mezzanine. Batman anticipated her path, using smoke pellets and a grappling hook to cut off her trajectory, landing silently behind her. Minutes later, all three were restrained, bound, and breathing hard. "You're lucky," Batman said, voice low. "You're young. You could have been killed, or worse." The police arrived, and the trio was transported to the Gotham Juvenile Detention Center, leaving Batman to vanish back into the shadows. Above the city, he stood silently, surveying the skyline. Gotham never rested, and the darkness never truly ended. But for tonight, at least, another threat had been contained. And somewhere, deep in the Batcave, Bruce Wayne allowed himself a small measure of satisfaction. Training, discipline, and patience had paid off again. But he knew, for every terrible trio caught, another shadow would rise. Gotham's fight was endless, and Batman would be ready.